Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tea for Two, the PCW podcast, where we get to know people in our community and hear stories of transformation. Today is a special day, even on our second episode, where I get to interview Marcy Ryan, who is our Associate Pastor for Congregational Life. She's been with us at PCW for a couple of years. She can be more exact if she wishes. But it's been my great pleasure to get to know her as a colleague and work together. And today I get to ask some other questions and we get to know her a little bit better. So welcome.
Thank you.
So you're a pastor. So that means you have a story how you were called to be a pastor.
Yeah,
Maybe.
absolutely. Yeah, I think everyone has a call story. I think everyone has a calling, depending on if you're a doctor, a teacher, a mom, a dad. I happen to first and foremost be called as a pastor, and that story came over many years, and it has evolved over time. It's not something that I always thought I was going to be. And so, like, when I was growing up, I wasn't like telling everyone, yeah, I'm going to be a minister. Like, that's just what I'm going to be. Or, I didn't dress up as a minister growing up, like during like Halloween. Um, for a long time, actually, I wanted to be a teacher, which in some ways I still think I am a teacher. But my call story really goes back to, I would even say in like second, third grade. I was going to church every week with my mom and my grandma, and we would go to this wonderful Lutheran church. We'd go to the 7:30 a.m. service, so it was nice and early. And I remember just being in that community and feeling so loved and supported and feeling like church is always going to be a part of my life. And so I started even in second grade. I was like, "Hey, I want to take communion." I went up to the pastor and I was like, "Hey, I would like to take communion." She was like, "You're welcome to." And so then I got on the circuit for weekly readers. And so I was reading scripture starting in like third grade. And I just really enjoyed it. Like, I just really enjoyed being in church. It was a really formative time. And so over the years, church was always part of my life. And then when I got to college, senior year rolls around, and I had led a few Bible studies. I had gotten involved in campus ministries. And I got to that senior year and I was just like, okay, like, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I called to do? And so I put together a group of peers and colleagues and professors and family members. And I asked them the question, what do you see me doing? As in, like, where do you see me being called? And what gifts do you see in me? And when I asked every single person those two questions, they all emphatically were like, you are called to be in ministry. And there's this sort of uh, image of call that you first experience, first or second, you experience an inward call and you have an external affirmation. And so I was experiencing an external affirmation. People were seeing something within me. And so I decided, hey, I'll check out seminary. Let's see what's going on. And over that first year in seminary, experiencing that inward call to parish ministry, to preaching and teaching and working within a congregation. My call life statement, my personal life statement that I have discerned over time has been, I feel, I am called to create safe and sacred places for people to experience belonging. And so that is something that I've discerned as like a very clear part of my ministry. Um, so that's a little bit of my call story. There's also lots of stories. There's lots of like one-offs that happened throughout that time, but that's in general how that came to be.
That is pretty incredible. I think it's really incredible for
Hmm.
any human to um, be open enough to invite a circle of people to really weigh in. I mean, it's hard enough to invite one person, to weigh in on something from time to time. So that's pretty powerful. I know the answer to this, but it's a good time to ask you to say it. But when we were talking and I asked, what do you hope church is for people? And then you were describing your experience of church and feeling very comfortable there, growing up, that helped lead you to all the place. But so what do you hope church is for the people that go to church?
Yeah, I hope and pray that church is home for everyone, that they will experience the fullness of themselves and they will encounter God in a very real way and but in a non-threatening way. They will experience the very love of God and with their family, with their church family. Yeah.
That's I love hearing all of that. We're going to take a 30-second break from these slightly serious questions.
Amazing.
And it is called Tea for Two.
Yes.
And we're both drinking tea because that's part of the deal.
I am
Although
drinking.
other guests, we don't have to have that all the time. Don't be scared. You don't have to
It's
drink tea.
true.
But what kind of tea are you drinking today?
I am drinking lemon iced tea because it is a wonderful, like, sunny day today. And so I thought iced tea would be wonderful. And what kind of tea are you drinking, Paul?
I am drinking hot Irish breakfast tea, which I think is my favorite of the black teas.
Nice.
And the mug is, I think I've had this mug since college, which is quite some time ago.
Mm.
Might have been the mug that, um, my mom said, here, you need a mug for your dorm room. And it might be this. I don't remember. I just don't remember life without this mug.
Oh, that's
So
so
cheers.
well. Cheers. Yes.
So so some more things that I know that I think that I would like to know more of, and I know that our congregation and listening circle would be happy to know. Um, so you take some service to the larger church time
Hmm.
every year to go be chaplain at a camp in the Adirondacks. You tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so the camp is Camp Fowler. It's in the Adirondacks. And when I first started volunteering there about 8 years ago, it was sort of pitched to me as hippie Jesus camp. And I just thought that that was so intriguing. And so I was like, I have to go and see what this is all about. And it is a beautiful camp where some of their core values are creation care, simplicity, and belonging. And so they are a camp that is right in the heart of the Adirondacks. We sleep in log cabins. It is a screen-free space, and it is probably one of the best things I do every year. As a chaplain, you are their Christian education for the week, and uh, typically we see around between 80 and 120 campers each week. And in that time, we also have hiking and canoeing and kayaking, and we go in what's called the bog, which is this really marshy sort of area, and you get really muddy and it's really glorious. And we let kids be kids, but we also let the adults be kids. And it's just a really sacred space. It's really fun. And as the chaplain, I am a trusted adult. That's how I market myself when I'm there, is I am your trusted spiritual friend throughout the week. And it's really kind of amazing to hear how campers, third graders to 12th graders, are coming into the week and what kids are carrying. And it's a truly beautiful experience. And I mean, hey, being in the mountains too for a week is pretty glorious as well.
That sounds great.
Hmm.
Um, now you you did a thing in your life. So a reasonably normal thing is for people, when they might meet their life partner somewhere in the college graduate school kind of realm.
Hmm.
And I understand that happened with you. You met your husband Gene in the college graduate school realm.
Mhm.
What might be slightly unique and not so everyday is that your husband Gene also happens to be a pastor.
Yeah.
And so you're married to a pastor. You're both pastors. So how does that work? What's fun about that? What might be hard about that? What kind of decisions have you made about what works and doesn't work that you're
Hmm.
proactive about?
Yeah. So, um, I talked earlier about how, I didn't think I was going to be a pastor. I did not think I was going to marry a pastor either. And so there is that. Gene he's my best friend. He is my soulmate. I love him so much. And so life with him is wonderful. And there are so many benefits actually being in this pastor couple. Um, First and foremost, we have two churches who are supporting us and praying for us, who want to ensure that we are well. And so it's a gift that we have so much support. Um, we also one of the things that I really love is that we get each other's professions and callings. So whereas some people might not understand the intricacies of the day of a funeral or having to pick up the phone at 10 p.m. for a congregant, or okay, I can't go out on Saturday night because we're preaching the next day. Um, we just we get that part of each other's lives, which is a really beautiful thing. We also, if we are preaching, we preach to each other and we give each other feedback, which is really helpful and really nice. Gene is usually like my first bat at a sermon, and his input is really helpful. Um, we don't, People have asked, we don't share sermons. It's not like uh, if I'm preaching and he's preaching the same day, we're preaching the same message. No, we try to have integrity with that. Um,
Also,
but
keeping your voice.
yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah, keeping our own individual voices. Yeah, some of the things that are challenging that go with that is, I mentioned before, we have two churches who love us and care for us. We also have two churches who seek attention from us all the time. And that can be a beautiful thing because we know that they're doing it because they trust us and they love us. And because actually Gene and I live at his church's parsonage, we have a close proximity to his church. And um, yeah, so it's like putting up good boundaries and saying, hey, this time is just going to be for the two of us. This time we're a little bit more open. Um, yeah, it's a really delicate dance to sort of navigate those things. Um, One of the other things that I know, Paul, you and I talked about beforehand was, you know, how do you like shut off when you get home? Like
yes.
how do you like not necessarily stop being who you are, but also stop like all of the stuff that's going on in your mind. Because being a pastor is not like a corporate position where, okay, I'm clocking in, clocking out. I'm no longer thinking about these people. I'm no longer concerned about this group. Um, yeah, there's things that carry into our evenings and um yeah, like I definitely would say that one of the boundaries Jean and I definitely have is that we are not each other's pastors. So if there is something going on, we really encourage one another to seek out a minister themselves. And I think that's very important. We also try really hard to have really honest, open communication about, okay, today was a tough day. I need to, we need some play, need some levity. And then there's other days where it's like, yeah, today was like a really amazing day and I want to really like marinate in it. Like I really want to like talk more about it. Um, so I think, similar to any couple or any if like there's a roommate, like, I think just navigating those boundaries of how much to talk about your day. But yeah, for Jean and I, it's I see it as such a gift because I also know that always will have a prayer partner with me. Um, and will understand my heart in it. So, yeah, I think that's what I would say, the heart of it.
So we're going to get to the lightning round in a moment, but
Right.
one more question about pastoring. So,
Mm,
uh, does a pastor have a pastor?
mm,
And I might ask that of any. We're this is the beginning of a occasional series of pastors from New Jersey that we're going to have on this
yeah.
podcast. But so we might add this might be a question for everybody just to see, because I'm sure it's different for everybody.
Mm,
But so for you, does a pastor have a pastor?
yes. The short answer to that is yes. I think, well, I'll reframe it. A good pastor has a pastor. Because to have a pastor, you're acknowledging that you need help and like you need support and you can't do things alone. You can't have it all. Um, and so I actually I sort of have multiple people in my corner. I have someone who I would say is my pastor, who I would go to with spiritual life questions. I also have what is called a spiritual director, and I see my spiritual director once, sometimes even twice a month. And she's considered someone who helps with discernment, clarity, but also like a spiritual director is also known as like being a midwife for the Holy Spirit. And so someone who can observe and notice where God is at work in your life, um, which is a beautiful thing. And then because I'm a pastor, I happen to know a lot of pastors in the area. And so I also find that like having colleagues who I can look to and say, hey, can you mentor me? Those are also people. I mean, just like with anyone, teachers need to be taught, people need to be mentored. Um, we're not brought into this world knowing everything. And so I think I think having a pastor is not only important, but it is necessary.
Again, the theme of inviting,
Mm,
as you told from when you were in college, and inviting people. So just
mm,
inviting, inviting, um, inviting input, inviting
mm.
understanding from others to help. Um, I so those are practices I'm sure we could all absorb and integrate into our own lives.
Mm.
Uh, so so the lightning round ish. What
Okay.
have you learned lately?
Um, I have learned, maybe relearned, that I really like watching sports. Like I really like watching basketball and hockey and baseball. I, yeah, I like watching sports. Yeah.
What do you hate to run out of?
I hate to run out of butter. That's like a very tangible thing, but I'm just thinking like the other day I ran out of butter and I was like, that's a big bummer.
You recently were on vacation.
Mhm.
What was a particularly memorable meal on your vacation?
Ooh,
I guess good or bad, technically, but
good or bad. Yeah, I would say that so Jean and I were at this seafood place, and there was a gentleman who was sitting next to us by himself, and he had just come back from getting all these tests done at the hospital, and so he was like having a meal just to himself, and he said that he'd like to share some conch fritters with us. And I just thought that was a really beautiful moment that we got to share with him.
you have a cat. The cat's name is,
His name is Bernard.
and how did you arrive at that name for this cat?
We his adopted name was 2D, and so we needed to change that. And Jean and I thought it would be funny if we named our cat after a mouse. And so we named him Bernard after the Disney movie The Rescuers. So if you ever happen to see The Rescuers, there's Bernard and Miss Bianca. We thought that would be an appropriate name.
I will look for that.
Yes.
So two more. So what is challenging you these days?
Oh, it is challenging. Hmm. It's challenging for me right now to not just like go outside all the time and like just be hiking and um, enjoying being outside. I know I have a lot of work that needs to be done indoors, and so it's challenging when I see that it's so nice outside to be like, yep, I have to keep working.
And what has made you smile?
I would say what's made me smile has, I mean, besides the Tea for Two podcast, of course.
Cheers.
Cheers. I would say that what has made me smile has been just really good friends, friends that have been um, who I've known for a long time, known for some over like 10, 12 years. And so um yeah, they're good people and they get me, and it's a beautiful thing.
Well, amen to that.
Mm.
And thank you for submitting to all of these questions.
Mm.
And thank you for being at PCW. Thank you for all that you give to the world. And to our listening and viewing public,
Mm.
we will be back again and again and again with more conversation on Tea for Two. So
Mm.
thanks very much, and peace be with you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.